With us, this is the official City of Chicago, and most of the stuff the City of Chicago says you don't believe, but this is the one guy who, over a number of the credible source that everybody goes to, he is the actual City of Chicago official cultural historian for this city. He is here with us right now to tell you the actual history of the place that we are right now. Please welcome, this is the great one himself, Tim Samuelson, the historian for the City of Chicago.
Well, at least that's what it says on my business card. So anyway, whoa! Well, what great to be here on what an event, and this is also a public service, so I'm going to try to blow through 150 years of Hideout history in 15 minutes. Also, for those who need to use the can or get a drink inside, here is your break right now. Okay, we're going to do it quick. Let's go back to the wonderful year of 1875. Imagine you're standing right where you are now. You would not want to be where you're standing right now. This was the center of some of the dirtiest, noisiest, smokiest industry in Chicago. You think these garbage trucks are something? I mean, they smell sometimes. You haven't been next to the old North Chicago rolling mills. Right here where they made steel and iron, the place where people went, cast the steel beams to make the first skyscrapers, the rails for the trains. Tough work, big bubbling pots of iron, stories of people losing their footing and falling into the pots of iron and are vaporized. Now, the people who lived around here, what you now see are parking lots, were little wood buildings, just like you see now the homes of the people who worked in the factories around here. Who comes from Ireland in 1876? A young couple, Patrick and Anastasia Meany. They come, Patrick gets a job at the North Chicago Rolling Mills, hard work, and then they start a family, have 2 children, and Patrick dies. What is Anastasia going to do to support her family? She takes the rented quarters that she occupies right across the street here, and she starts to take in boarders. It was a rented place, 10 different boarders. She would prepare the meals, do the laundry, and in doing this, she saved her money. And in saving her money, she was ready in 1881 to get out of that little rented place across the way and build a model boarding house of her own. And it's right here. Now, it's an interesting thing. So Anastasia Meany is in this house. She builds it from scratch as a boarding house. You've got a big room on the ground floor. That's where the people who are living there get their meals. Probably Anastasia be making a nice pot of stew or whatnot, or whatever they would serve that was for the meals for the people who are working in the nearby factories. So it's interesting, too, that we do have the names of some of the first boarders that walked through the door of this place in 1881. And one of them's name was, most appropriately, Tim Conroy. Probably the first time his name's been spoken on this site since 1881. The house plugs along as a boarding house with Anastasia Meany, and in through the 1880s, 1890s, 1910, her sons go off and get good jobs at the time. One's a streetcar conductor, one's a fireman at one of the local firehouses. 1916, January, Anastasia Meany passes away right here in this building. And where was her wake held? Probably right where the bar is right now, because that was where the big gathering place was. Her sons don't know what to do with the place, and so they originally rented to a family called Papadorum. They were a combination of Greek, Norwegian, French, and English. Drove a truck, and this is kind of the beginning now, 1916, 1917, of the teamster era of the building. And so you start getting into 1919, and you have a little event that happens called National Prohibition. Now, if you wanted to sell some illegal hooch, Where's a better place to put it but a place in the middle of nowhere amidst all the factories where you'd never think to look for it unless you knew. So John and Mary Jusko lived with 7 children up on the top floor. The speakeasy was down on the ground floor for all the working people that were getting off their shift to get themselves a drink. Carries on through those years, and even after the repeal of Prohibition in the 1930s, it carries on as a bar with the Juskos in command. But then it changes hands again. It's now 1947, and there's a man named Angelo Favia who takes it over. Angelo Favia. Now, he was a Baresian from Italy. Now, you often hear stories of Chicago's Italian neighborhoods and they say, oh, Little Italy down on Taylor Street. But there was a real Little Italy that nobody talks about, and it's still there to this day. It's right there around Grand Avenue in Racine. You probably know, get the best sub sandwich at Bari Foods. Well, that's where. And so, yeah, and D'Amato's Bakery. So that's where it is. So anyway, he takes this over. Now let's just say that that is a neighborhood that always kept a low profile. Because in many cases, many of the things that people did in the families that lived there had to be a little bit under the radar. He knew what you had to do to kind of keep quiet, maybe keep things out of the spotlight. So he takes this place over and then proceeds to make it disappear, except for the people who knew it was here. If you take a look at the Chicago telephone book at the time that Favia owned this place, you will see pages with thousands of bars listed all across the city. You will not find any bar listed at this location. He made it disappear. Unless you knew it was here and you were welcome with open arms. And so it was still a workingman's bar. People who came, who lived nearby. It's a place where Nelson Algren and Art Shea actually came to have a drink. So it carries on like this. It's a place that if you didn't know where it was, or you didn't know what it was, you weren't welcome to be here anyway, because this was a place for the workers. But just to tell you how the place keeps going in the business, it's kind of a bit of word of mouth. And I'll give you a little lineage of what happened. So let's take an example that there is a man by the name of Tom Shaughnessy. He works in what's now U.S. Steel, where the old Chicago rolling mills used to be. He comes here all the time. It's familiar. It's the neighborhood bar. It's a place to kick a few back. And so then he meets up a friend who works in the gravel business, for gravel for roads. His name is Tom Nicholson. Brings him over here. And then Tom Nicholson and Tom Shaughnessy go hoist some drinks here. Now, meanwhile, Nicholson's family lives out in suburban Mount Prospect, and the family can't figure out where the heck he's going every night. And so the family kind of asks a question. Where's Dad going? Including his daughter, Katie. It seemed really mysterious. So they go, they ask, where is this place? Never mind, won't tell. There's even little windbreakers. In fact, daughter Katie goes and sees somebody wearing a Hideout windbreaker and says, oh, tried a little trick. The Hideout, where is that place again? And the person went, So then she goes and she finally gets it out of her dad. It's a place that's north of North Avenue, and she drives around for hours, and she finds the place tucked in. So then she goes in, has herself a drink. The secret's out, Dad. We know where the place is. But then another thing happens is that there's all the regulars there. And so now Katie Nicholson is good because she's the daughter of Tom Nicholson, who's now accepted as one of the regulars. But then Katie brings along her boyfriend. His name is Tim. So now Tim is not like the usual people we're hanging out here at the Hangout. He kind of likes to talk. And just kind of what comes to mind comes out of his mouth. So you can almost imagine, by this time, one of the Favias who's running the bar, and they'd probably say, well, how do you put up with that guy in there? And to use the old movie cliche, I keep him around because he makes me laugh. But no, the people loved Tim, and he goes, and it fits in. And also, Tim would then buy rounds, which endeared him to the customers of the Hideout even more. So then it goes on in the gathering place, in 1994, that one of the last of the Favias dies. And now his wife is running the place, Eleanor Favia. She doesn't want to run the bar. So there was an interesting thing. Tim would always be in the place and say, always helpful with the advice. Hey, you know what you could do with this place? And he'd give some elaborate thing for it. And Phil Favia would say, yeah, you know, okay. You know, when you buy the place someday, you can do whatever you want with it. But, you know, for now, that's it. So now Eleanor comes in and she says, okay, Mr. Big Shot, you said you want to buy this place. Well, now, take the thing. Well, then Tim goes, and Katie go, And actually, two people they brought with the Hinchliffe twins. And so they go, and what do? They buy the bar. So the one thing I would like to say, and what you see here, and to close this story, is I would have to say to Tim, to Katie, the Hinchliffe brothers, I really love what you did with the place. And the thing I like the most about what you did with the place, you didn't do a damn thing to it. Congratulations, 20 years, great to be here. Thanks much.